Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's me, Eggburt, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
John, is Bill Quick on the line?
He is something. Now, when he was riding with you at the end of that story, that was before you had the skirmish about the little skirt, right?
Yeah, that was the
Okay, so that was before any kind of dramatics. Then did you ever make peace with him, or did it just kind of, you guys just kind of go your separate ways?
I hired him as an attorney one point in time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, then that goes to show that things went pretty well then, right?
Well, no, actually, he did a terrible job, and I was very
Maybe he did it intentionally because he was still mad at you.
I guess, I don't know. He did a terrible job for me, and at one point in time, you know you're in trouble when your attorney admits to you that he doesn't know exactly what he's doing. And
that's helpful.
This was an area of the law where I'm thinking to myself, why didn't you tell me that before I engaged your services? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Okay.
Now, is he still with us, or has he passed?
No, I think he's still around. I mean, matter of fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you know that you are a reverend, right? So when you officiate at his funeral, you can say, God is here to judge the quick and the dead. Write that down, Brad. Capture that.
I have several Vietnam era friends, and you've probably heard this before. And so far, it's not worked out for them, and some of them have already, passed away. But I can tell you off the top of my head, two of them being ex-radio people, they have a singular goal in life. You know what that singular goal is?
To retire.
No, to live long enough to go urinate on Jane Fonda's grave.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because they were in Nam when
Hanoi Jane.
When Jane Fonda was in Hanoi, essentially saying that America is screwed up and the Vietnamese people, the North Vietnamese, were really nice people and we shouldn't be fighting them. But that's a whole other story. Okay. Stupid criminal stories, okay? Michigan, in some areas, is still doing their court hearings via Zoom. You know how with, what's her name?
Yeah. With the pandemic, you got to, bro. Right. People might breathe on you.
Gretchen Wilson, the country singer who is now the governor of Michigan, is still...
Yes.
Is still... Matter of fact, she's coming to St. Louis. I think she's going to be at Worldwide Technology.
Worldwide Waste. Does that mean the lieutenant governor is going to be in charge in Michigan?
Right.
When Gretchen Wilson's
right. She's got a hand off to him. Okay, so here's the story. This guy's name is Corey Harris, and he is on a Zoom call with his public defender and the judge, and he's being charged with driving while suspended. Okay, so he's talking to the judge, and the judge says, at one point in time, the judge says, Mr. Harris, are you driving? This is the judge asking the defendant.
You're kidding me.
No, I said, and he says, and once again, he's in front of the judge on a Zoom call. If you can see all the boxes on the screen, he's in one box, the judge is in another box, the public defender's in another box, and the judge says, once again, let's recap this. Mr. Harris, are you driving? Simpson, the judge, asked the defendant. And the defendant says, actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office. Just give me 1 second. I'm parking right now.
Wow. That's so good. The audacity. So what happened? You can't leave us hanging, Brad.
Simpson, this is the judge. Simpson was seen impatiently waited for Harris to bring his vehicle to a stop. Once the proceedings began, Harris' attorney asked Simpson for an adjournment for, quote, possibly up to 4 weeks if the court will allow. And this is the judge. He says, okay, so maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended case. Simpson told the public defender, and he was just driving and he doesn't have a license. This is all on Zoom. and Harris, who is the scofflaw who is being tried in this case, or at least in front of the judge, he appears to be at a loss for words as the judge appears astonished. Okay, Simpson says, this is the judge, "I don't even know why we would do that," Simpson said. "So the defendant's bond is revoked in this matter," and essentially says he orders to turn himself into the jail by 6 p.m. that day. So in other words, he's saying, I'm not dealing with this. You are violating the law. We're having a hearing about you driving without a license, and you're driving without a license. Bond suspended. Show up for court at 6 o'clock. If you don't show up, show up for jail at 6 o'clock. If you don't turn yourself in by 6 o'clock that day, you will have a warrant issued for your arrest. I mean, once again, this is like something you'd see on Saturday Night Live. You know what I'm saying? It would be.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Now, here's what I would do, Brad. If I worked for like a digital company like Canva, or if I worked for Microsoft Office or something like that in marketing, I would do a TikTok and an Instagram and a YouTube short that shows a real quick outline of this. And then I say, if you use our backgrounds, our Zoom backgrounds for any call, the judge will never know that you're driving. And then you could have somebody like driving and then with a tropical background, with a drab office background, or a big sign in back that says, "I am home and totally not driving."
Or have
would be a hit.
Or you'd have the background which has like a sign on the wall that says "Home Sweet Home," right, or something like that.
Yeah. There's no place like home. Have it in that white woman font that says "Gather."
Right. So
we gather here.
Right.
You know.
Okay. So here's another one. Now, I talk about this because I give this not to talk about Fox News, but to give you some background in this. Okay, this was a puff piece, and I'll call it a puff piece. That's exactly what it was. It was published yesterday, and it was on Fox News, and it says, "Fox News viewership dominates competition during May. CNN has the worst month since 1991 in key demographic." Okay, now what's interesting about this is, you and I have touched on this before. You probably don't remember this or not, but everybody talks about, well, on CNN last night and MSNBC. Okay, it talks about the fact that in some day parts, some hours on CNN, they only have 96,000 viewers. Okay, 96,000 viewers. This is for the entire country. There are radio stations in the top 10 markets that have 96,000 listeners at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay?
Yeah.
Camo X back in the day, when it was called having we refer to as what we call CUM, which is cumulative audience. And the CUM numbers are essentially the aggregate of all the listeners who are listening at any point in time. Okay? Back in the day, J.C. Corcoran used to have six-figure CUMs. So in other words, there were over 100,000 people listening to J.C. Corcoran and Casey at one point in time. This is CNN, which covers the entire country, and they only have 96,000 viewers.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, if I'm them, I point out that, well, a lot of people watch our clips through our website. A lot of people watch it on demand. But isn't that a fact of just modern news clips, right?
Well,
you're going to watch it on TikTok or YouTube or at your convenience. You're not going to watch. Who's watching television live? Unless you're an old retired person or you're stuck at a doctor's office and it's up on the television. Who watches television live?
I don't even have a TV anymore, so I can't even answer that. Okay.
I know. I mean, I'm not a TV guy either.
Let me read this one paragraph, and that'll put it in perspective. CNN averaged only 96,000 nightly demo viewers during May to finish behind 18 other basic cable options in the key demo, with a smaller audience than A&E, Adult Swim, Comedy Central, HGTV, Food Network, and Bravo. It was CNN's smallest primetime audience in the key demo since 1991. They're talking 2554. That's the demo everybody wants and it's funny. When I get into talking advertising, sometimes people will say, why does everybody want 25 to 54-year-olds? Because statistically it's been proven that those are the people that have the most spendable income that they're actually spending. And when you think about it, between 25 and 54, most people, in that time frame get married, they have kids. What do? They buy cars, they buy stuff for their kids, they buy a house, they're putting in, they're going to Home Depot, they're painting the walls, they're going to the furniture store, they're buying, and they have a tremendous amount of revenue that is being put into the economy. Once you get into the 55 plus demo, especially like the 65 plus demos, those people may literally have 6 and 7 figures in the bank, but they ain't spending it anymore because their kids are gone. And if anything, they are like going the opposite direction. They're downsizing. They're selling their home. They had a 4 or 5 bedroom home, and now that's too much for them. They're selling it because it's just mom and dad, and they're going to move into a condo or something like that. And, maybe mom and dad had 2 cars, and maybe mom doesn't drive that much anymore, and dad sells her car, and that kind of thing. So in other words, they're going the opposite direction. So, but your point's well taken, is that it's a change. And not only that, the whole part of it is, the interesting thing is it refers, in this article refers as basic cable options. Okay? Most people don't have cable anymore. And
who would pay for cable today?
Well, see, the funny part of this is that Spectrum is actually putting an advertising campaign, which makes a lot of sense because of the fact that, once again, you had a cable bundle, you had all these channels, and you unbundle them when you cut the cable, and you can pick what you want. But the problem now is everybody's doing the subscription model, and by the time you buy this one, it may be cheaper for you to get cable back and buy the bundle because you get all those channels plus a bunch more.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Right.
Yep. By the time you add in Hulu, and people that do that stuff a la carte, I don't know. You would have to watch a whole lot of television to make that worth your while.
Well, and even to the point, I think the thing that bothers me is I buy stuff on Amazon, so as a result of that, I have a Prime subscription. And just last night, I see this happening more and more and more. First off, we talked about this a couple weeks back. If you go on Amazon right now and try to buy DVDs for almost any movie, they're no longer available because Amazon doesn't want you to buy the DVD. They want you to go on to Prime and buy it there, where technically you really don't own it, but you do, or rent it. And, once again, one of the things that for me is when I went on last night to Prime, I haven't looked at Prime probably in a month. And I looked at that and I look at, okay, that movie's interesting. Most of the movies now are for rent. There was a time when you go through Prime, and most of the movies on there, hey, it's in your Prime account. You can watch this for free. Well, not anymore. So anyway, the cable thing, the CNN thing, and what's so sad about this is, I think CNN to a large degree and MSNBC has sort of, dug their own grave, because when Trump was in office, the CNN numbers, the MSNBC numbers were strong because what were they doing? Anti-Trump. They were anti-president. Yep. They were talking about how the president's such a jerk and the orange man bad and stuff like that. Well, now, since Trump is not in office, but he's on trial, but the president is a Democrat, they don't have as much fun with Biden. Matter of fact, I think to a certain extent, I think secretly they probably admit they were somewhat embarrassed by some of the stuff he does. And did you read this story? Was it where he made the speech to the NAACP? Was it this weekend or the past weekend, where he made 9 huge mistakes, but when they put the official transcript out, they corrected all his mistakes? Did you?
Yeah, I saw something about that.
I'm going like, okay, now, so how can that be the official transcript if that's not what he said? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not. Because it says, going back to prepared remarks.
Right. Essentially, that was what was in the teleprompter, but that's not what came out of his mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is once again, if you're going to get a transcript. Okay, and one more thing. John, I'm not bashing Dr. Jill Biden, but yesterday she was on The View, okay? And once again, The View has this oversized impact on media because of the fact that if you look at the numbers for The View, it doesn't have that strong of numbers as far as television is concerned anymore. I mean, it has decent numbers, but it's not like Super Bowl numbers or anything like that, okay? So yesterday she's on The View, and she is saying that she's warning The View viewers, if they allow Trump to be elected again, quote, we will lose all of our rights. Okay?
Oh.
I'm going like,
We don't want that. They're gonna and I'm sure she was able to give details of how rights will be lost. And by the way, Brad, how would this be different than the first Trump presidency? Because I remember in the summer of 2016, we talked about how if you have a crazy man with his finger on the button, we're going to have World War III, and all women are going to have their rights taken away, and blacks and gays and queers and whatever else. Did that happen? I don't remember.
John, and you have already gotten to my point. I mean, and remember not only that, remember we had, what was it, the Saturday after Trump was inaugurated, we had Madonna on the steps of what was it? She was someplace in D.C. on the Washington Monument or something like that, saying she's going to go blow up the White House. Remember that? I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she's done a lot. For years, she threatened to blow a lot of things, and she actually followed through. But this time, she didn't, Brad.
I ignored that comment.
We'll leave Dennis Rodman out of this. Go ahead.
I ignored that comment. Okay, but once again, when Trump was elected, the financial experts say, oh my God, this is going to be gloom and doom for the stock market. Okay, John, you're a stock market guy. What happened after Trump took office? What happened to the stock market?
A tremendous explosion by any metric. If you're looking at the S&P 500, you know who had a good point about this, Brad? Today on my website, I have a story about Ray Hartman talked about his losing campaign with the Washington Missourian. And he was asked about the financial markets. And Ray Hartman, to his credit, said something to the effect of, look, we give the president way too much credit when the stock market is good and the economy broadly is good, and then too much when it's bad. So, I mean, it was an honest statement from Ray. Now, Ray, you know I'm biased toward Ray. Ray said a lot of silly things. Like he said that the 2nd Congressional District is purple and that it's winnable. And Ray knows that that's not true. But folks can find that article on my website. To your point, Brad, no, we had an incredible economic performance under Donald Trump.
Right. Okay. And Trump didn't go around throwing people in jail, saying, I don't like you, you're going to jail. We didn't have any wars. We didn't have Russia invading Ukraine. We didn't have the Palestinians fighting it out with the Israelis. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff. We didn't have Putin rattling his saber. We didn't have problems with the Chinese that we have now, increasingly more over the Taiwan situation.
But we had mean tweets, though, Brad.
Right.
We had mean tweets, and we had mean nicknames too.
So the first paragraph of this article, I'm not going to read the whole thing, and essentially they're summarizing her appearance on The View. First Lady Jill Biden said Wednesday there would be disaster results and a loss of human rights if former President Trump is reelected in November. And the View people were just like nodding up and down. Oh, you go, girl. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna, we're Harrison Butker's gonna be his new vice president, and all us women are going to be forced to cook for our man in the kitchen.
Which they should.
Right. And Harrison Butker's going to artificially impregnate all of us. So, and he's going to take our shoes away, so we're going to have to be barefoot, and he's going to put us on handcuffs. He's going to handcuff us to the refrigerator door.
Where this is going, Brad.
In the kitchen, so we can't get out of the kitchen. I'm going like, what happened? Just the exact opposite of what she says happened during Trump. And even to the point, if you watch this crazy, weird tirade of Robert DeNiro at the trial the other day, which just got bizarre and strange, and I'm going like, matter of fact, he gets into, as they're trying to take him off this little makeshift podium, they're walking him to his handlers or walking him to his black SUV. Of course, no global warming there with a black SUV, but anyway, and the citizens of New York are unloading on DeNiro, and they're F-bombing him left and right. And DeNiro, I didn't realize how short he was. He's a little tiny guy. Did you see that?
Yeah, he's a little manlet. Yeah, I mean, he has, I guess, probably shrunk a little bit in his old age.
Man. Okay, John, have we beat this one to death today?
I don't know. I'm disappointed that you're questioning a doctor like Jill Biden. You know, she is a doctor, Brad. You have no respect for the medical profession, clearly.
John, I have friends of mine, believe it or not. I actually know smart people. They actually know me. I'm a dumb person. But I know smart people that have PhDs. And when she got, when Biden got elected, I would tell these people, I'm so glad we now have a smart a first woman in the White House who's not like, what's her name? Melania Trump or whatever.
Melania, a beautiful supermodel. We have a real doctor.
Right, who can speak 5 different languages, but yet everybody portrayed her as being dumb as dirt. You know what I mean? It's like,
I do know.
I don't quite understand that whole thing. And she's actually a brilliant woman, but now we have a smart woman because she's got a PhD. And you know what PhD stands for, don't you?
Yeah, player hater degree. That's from a Puff Daddy song.
No.
It's a PhD. You play a hated degree.
No, it stands for piled high and deep. That's what it stands for.
Oh, yes, it is.
John, say goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?